Hi everyone, it's Joe and Zoe here from In Good Company, and we're going to walk you through a demonstration of a coaching conversation structure called CLEAR. CLEAR stands for C for contracting, L for listening, E for exploring, A for action, and R for review. And for the purposes of the demo today, I'm going to be the coach and Zoe is going to be the coachee. So I think we'll dive straight in.
Let's do it.
So Zoe, what would you like to talk about today? What are your desired outcomes from our coaching conversation?
So we've been thinking for some time about how resourced we are in the business, and I know obviously you're part of that. So what I'd like to put some time to is thinking about the resource structure, I suppose, that we want to build into the business, and just where to get started with it, I think.
Okay, great. And what needs to be in place today in order to ensure that we've created a safe space for you to explore that within our coaching conversation?
I think it's really just a space to unravel the thinking. As you know, we'd had lots of offline conversations about it, but actually to get some dedicated space to think through and unjumble some of the different threads of conversations and thoughts that are spinning around. So, some space to do that would be helpful, and probably some challenge, so where perhaps I'm looping and doing some unhelpful thinking, if you can see that, that would be great.
Okay, great. So what I'm hearing from what you said so far is that you want some space to be able to reflect upon the resources that you need in the business going forward, to think about what structure that might look like, a space for you to be able to unravel and unjumble some of your thoughts. And you'd like me to be able to hold that space for you today and to offer challenge if I think maybe you're looping in your thinking, or that you're doing something, you put it like unhelpful thinking.
Yeah, sounds great.
So, okay, brilliant. And we've got 10 to 15 minutes for that today to be able to explore it. So, would you like to tell me a bit more about the situation, the resources that you have at the moment, and what you're looking for moving forward?
Yeah. So, okay. So for many years, obviously our business has remained small, with me and you doing the majority of the work behind the scenes. And I suppose over the last year, we've been on a path of kind of rapid growth. And whilst we have been resourcing our business along the way, it's come at a point where we both recognise that we need some more strategic resource, perhaps, than just the two of us. So we have lots of ideas and we come up with things very quickly, but we need another partner who can help us to do a lot of the heavy lifting with regards to some of that strategic thinking that we do. Also, I think it's still like a growing awareness that I'm an expensive administrator, so my time is much better spent in the creative thinking and in the facilitation and using my strengths where I really add value. My strength is not in, admin and scheduling and organization. Somebody can do that much better than I could. So I think it's also just, maturing in the organization, maturing in the business, and also feeling very ready to take that leap and bring more minds into the business to help and support us as we continue to grow.
Exciting times.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It's like I wish I'd actually did this thinking 6 months ago before we needed it. So it always feels like catching my tail a little bit in the business. So it would be nice to actually have that person who can almost catch us up or catch me up, and so it feels like the right time.
So I'm hearing, sort of connecting back what you said earlier on in terms of today in our conversation, you wanted to have a space, and it sounds like in your business as well that you want to have some space by not being an expensive administrator, kind of constantly chasing your tail, but actually have the space to be able to do the things where you can use your strengths and what you're really good at, and that growing awareness of that. You're now looking for a strategic resource, somebody or people to partner around the heavy lifting with, because you're ready to take the leap.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything you'd add
Great.
to that?
No, I don't think so. I suppose, continuing the thinking rather than adding to it is more around the getting started. So recognizing that's a need is great. And actually you've made some progress in finding the person or the people who can help, which is also great. I think my mind is going, as you mentioned, space. My mind actually turns to yes, I need to create the space to bring this person on board, because they'll only be as helpful as we give them time to be. Does that make sense? So I think as we kind of chat through, the outcome is actually maybe more around how do I create the space to bring that person in, and give them the best start possible.
Sounds like a golden thread. Yeah. So let's talk about the options then, and the possibilities for this future action that you're talking about. So what are the different options available to you?
So continue on from that. So I think the resource is having this strategic person who can coordinate whatever else we need, be it digital marketing, SEO, scheduling meetings, whatever it is. So a single point of contact. But I think actually the biggest need is doing some forward planning myself around creating the time and space to be able to bring that person on. And that is about not just thinking about the what, but the ways of working and the relationship that we want to create, and setting expectations around what we want that to look like and how we want that to be. So that's where my thinking's going.
So just to clarify, do you have a structure in mind, or have we shifted the goal that we're working on in terms of using our time today to how you create the space to bring somebody on?
I think it's the latter, which is a good catch. So yes, I have a structure in mind.
Okay.
Which I think I'll run with, in terms of there are other options, but I think that's the structure I'll run with for the sake of this. And then, yes, the options would be about creating space.
So what's the wildest option in terms of creating space?
Oh, clear my diary for a whole 6 weeks and focus purely on the onboarding. That would be luxurious.
Okay. Yeah. And what else?
I think the sensible option, that's maybe a scale down from that, is looking ahead and seeing, laying out all of the, pieces of work that we've got on next quarter, and doing some proactive diary planning to incorporate the onboarding process. So there's that. Probably getting ahead of the game and scheduling some meetings now for that period of time, even though it's still a month or so to go. Yeah, there's a few.
And what feelings are being triggered here as you're talking? You were going from like the wildest option through to maybe the easiest option. What feelings are being triggered or coming up for you?
More of a, I wish I had that person now to do that planning for me.
And what feeling is that?
That is, what is that feeling? Impatience, or maybe excitement, a little bit of both. Frustration at being here again, and you know, having that feeling of wanting to be more, I don't know, ahead of it than I feel.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? Positivity, you know, that this is an exciting and positive move. So I suppose there are lots of little things in the mixing pot. I'd say the overriding thing is excitement and more wishing I had it yesterday, because I know how good it's going to be.
And think about how would someone you admire deal with the situation? So you came up with a few different options before, but we haven't yet considered how would someone that you admire deal with the situation? What comes to mind?
I think, well, what that does for me is think it's probably a case of clearing a day to
Right.
do the forward planning for the next quarter, to factor this in. So rather trying to plan some meetings to put this in the diary, it's actually clearing a whole day to plan the whole quarter
Yeah.
ahead of when we get there. And
Yeah.
I mean, once upon a time, a whole day would have felt pretty ludicrous, but actually, I know now that it takes that time to kind of piece everything together. So that would be a good option.
And if you couldn't fail, what would you do?
If I couldn't fail, what would I do? I don't know. 'Cause I don't. Yeah, I suppose I don't. I don't feel any risk associated with this goal, so it feels very safe to do that. And I think, if anything, the risk, the kind of failure piece, might have been relevant before I'd made the decision to bring somebody in. Whereas
Right.
now that we've made the decision, I feel very comfortable in that. So yeah, feel okay there.
So having identified a few different options, and of course there are many more, but for the purposes of like the time we have together today, what's the next step that you are compelled to commit to?
I think the next step is clearing a day to do that planning.
And when is that day going to be? Do you have a sense?
Well, we are together on Friday, so we could clear Friday and have a roll at it then. Um, it needs to, yeah, well, there's probably a first step then, which is to consult the calendar to see when the next available day is to do that. But it needs to be in the next couple of weeks, I think, to be able to get all the pieces of the puzzle to fit together.
Okay, great. So I sense from the fog some clarity emerging there. So
Yeah.
what you're feeling compelled and driven to take action on is to consult the diary, find a day that you can spend with the strategic partner.
No, I think that in the first place, it is to spend a day with you to look through what we've got on in Q3, and where the opportunities are to put time in for onboarding, and what actually all of the different aspects of that onboarding is. So, and where this takes me actually is back to my HR days, when we would do like a full induction plan for somebody, like who does the new starter need to meet, and what are the initial objectives, what's the 90-day plan, and actually thinking about it with that respect, because there's so many moving parts. I think for this person to be up and running and working as I know I want them to, I think we deserve to put together a really good onboarding program. So that, I think, is what I would like to see.
And is there anything else that you need to do to increase your chances of success? Yeah.
Probably just reach out to the strategic partner and understand the time commitment that, align on the time commitment that we want to put on that onboarding process, and typically how long that would take, and also thinking about what are the low hanging fruit, the small wins, the early wins that we can get off the ground
So it sounds
quickly.
like you started off with something simple and then you went out to lots of things there. So just for my purposes and people listening, so what is the one thing that you can do when it comes to the strategic partner that will increase your chances of success around making space for this partnership or onboarding?
That is to clear the day. So that's number one. To have do the jigsaw planning of Q3 with a view to building an onboarding plan for the strategic partner. So in my mind, that's 3 clear actions. 1 is clear the day. 2 is build the onboarding plan and make sure we communicate that with the strategic partner.
Okay, great. So 3 clear action points there. So let's just reflect on those. You've identified those 3 things. When and where are you going to review this plan that you've committed to?
I think that is as the onboarding is happening.
Right.
Okay. So I'm imagining that it will be a process over, say, the course of a month. So each week to just be checking in and seeing, okay, where are we now? What's working? What's missing? That sort of thing.
So you're going to have a weekly check-in with myself and the other strategic partner around how settled are they feeling? How competent are they feeling? What can we do differently? What's working well, and so on.
Yeah.
Great. And in the spirit of that, when we think about our conversation here today, when we think about when we speak next time, what would you like to improve on or do differently next time we have coaching?
Well, what I liked is that ability to unfold your goal as you go through the coaching session. So typically when I come to a conversation, I might have a sense of clarity of where I'm at, but actually once I start talking it out, I become clearer about what I actually need. So I'd like still to maintain that, because actually the process of actually clarifying my thinking is one of the most helpful things. So would I do anything differently? I think it worked for me, so I think I'm happy with that. With a different topic, I'd invite more challenge, but I think in this instance we got there. So yeah, it was good.
And for those watching, there were lots of different areas, particularly in the first couple of sections, where could have challenged more. But when you know you've got a limited amount of time with somebody, you have to choose how far you go off that path. And when it comes to noticing when maybe you need to go back to the start, again, in real life, I would have gone back to the start of that clear model, that conversation structure, to take it all the way through. But you can see here in this demonstration even how you can get real clarity around the fact that you're recontracting partway through because it's not completely different. So that was an example of the clear model in practice. There is a handout that goes along with this, but what you'll have seen there was some clear contracting around starting with the end in mind and what the coachee needs in order to get the most out of the session. Then you saw listening, so active listening to develop insights for the individual. And as a coach, what you're doing there is you're summarizing, identifying connections from things that you've heard. You might be mirroring some of the language. Then we move into exploring, which is where we talked about the options. And there are a few different questions in there to be able to help the coachee connect with some different ideas. And then we moved into the action stage, which is about commitment. And then finally into that review phase. So yes, of course, there are overlaps with other coaching models. There are other models such as Grow, as Oscar, and Clear is another one of those. It's a semi-structure that you can use as a good hanger for your conversations.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed that, do check out our other coaching demonstrations that you can find on our vlog at www.igcompany.co.uk/vlog, or join our Facebook group where we release weekly coaching videos, and you can join us there at the Coaching Crowd. So thanks for listening and see you again soon.
Thank you.